Go. All right. So, how long is the morning and how long is the afternoon? And we can answer that using three different formats that all kind of mean the same thing, but they're just written in different ways. So first of all, if we look at the morning, it goes from 9:05 to 11:30. How many hours and how many minutes is that?
9 hours.
What's that?
9 hours.
No, from 9 to 11?
2 hours, 25 minutes.
2 hours, 25 minutes. Yeah. And actually, the afternoon's going to be the exact same, so we don't even have to do both of these. We could just do one. It's going to work out to be the exact same. So it's going to be 2 hours and 25 minutes. So when we write that, we write the hours first, then we use a colon, and then we write 25. That means 2 hours and 25 minutes. That's what that means. Okay? So for the work today, you will probably need to write out your time in this mode. So just remember that the number first is the number of hours, and after the colon, the number is the number of minutes. So it's hours, colon, minutes. Okay? Hours, colon, minutes. Now, we could ask that a couple different other ways. How many minutes is that? Just straight up, how many minutes is 2 hours and 25 minutes?
145.
145. Very good. Now, if you're not sure how we got that, how many minutes are in an hour? 60. So you take 2, you multiply it by 60, what do you get? 120. And then we're going to add 25 to that. So 120 plus 25 is 145. So 145 minutes. Okay? Now, let's convert that into hours. And the best way of doing this is to just take this number here and divide it by 60. So when you divide that by 60, you should get, if my math is okay, 2.4166666. How'd I do? Is that what we get? Okay? And we don't have to write all those sixes, so we can just say it's 2.42. We're rounding to 2 decimal places, and that's in hours. And of course, we don't have to, I don't know if we have to really write in the hours part because we're asked for it in hours, although it does not hurt. It doesn't hurt to write in hours. So anyway, that's how we can express time in 3 different ways. In hours and minutes, in just minutes, and in hours. And it kind of depends what we're doing, okay? Like, if I'm driving to Winnipeg in normal conditions, I'm probably not going to say, it took me 450 minutes. No one says that, right? If you're doing something for that long, you're going to refer to it in hours. You might use hours and minutes. You might say, it took me 7.5 hours or something like that. That's more appropriate, right? So, but if you're talking about, I did math homework for 40 minutes. Well, you wouldn't use hours there either because the amount of time you spent was under an hour. So you wouldn't use hours to represent something more than likely. Now, in this unit, we're going to be talking about how much people are paid. And usually, one of the ways that people are paid is for every hour of work. So in other words, if you work an hour, you might get paid $20 an hour. So when that's the case, there's a strong preference for time being in this way because we can take this and use it in calculations fairly easily. Okay? So that's kind of our preference as far as using it for calculations. But depending on what our purpose is, we may go in one or two different directions. Okay? All right, let's do some examples here. Lena works 4 hours and 45 minutes at the cafeteria on Thursday. Express her work time in hours as a decimal. Now, just telling you, what you can do with this is we know she works 4 hours and 45 minutes. So we already know there's going to be 4 whole hours, right? 4 whole hours. It's going to be 4 point something. To figure out the something, what you can do is hone in on the number of minutes. And how many minutes are there in an hour? So you could take 45 and divide it by 60. What do you get when you do that? 0.75. So we just add a 0.75 to this, and 4 hours and 45 minutes is 4.75 hours if we write it as a decimal. So all we did was we left the 4 alone because it was the number of whole hours, and we converted 45 minutes to a decimal, knowing that there are 60 minutes in an hour. Now, part B, what's her time in minutes? Okay, well, we already know we have 45 minutes. Now what we want to do is think about taking the 4 hours and turning them to minutes. So, how many minutes are in an hour? 60. So if we take 4 and multiply it by 60, how many minutes do we get? 240. But we also have this 45. So we add it on to the 240. And how many minutes do we get altogether?
285.
Thank you very much. We get 285 minutes. So that's her work time in minutes. So, next example. Winston plays basketball for a total of 650 minutes during the month of September. What is this in hours as a decimal? So, because we know the total number of minutes, we know it's 650. What are we going to do with 650 to turn it into hours as a decimal?
Divided by 60.
Giddy up. We're going to divide it by 60. And when we do that, we get 10.83 hours. On your calculator, it'll be 10.8333333333. Okay? So we get 10.83 hours. That's how many hours he plays basketball in the month of September. Now, part B says express it in hours, minutes. Well, we know the hours part. The hours part is how many hours? 10. So we got 10 hours. The $1 million question is, what goes here? Well, let's think about this for a second. If you have 10 hours, how many minutes is that?
600.
Yeah, it's 600 minutes. And if you're not sure how to get that, you just multiply 10 by 60. So now what we know is 10 hours makes 600 minutes. Okay. So we've got 600 minutes here. But he played basketball for 650. What do you have to add to 600 to get to 650? 50. Yeah, 50. So it's 10 hours and 50 minutes. Because we can just take 650 minus the 600 we already used, and we get 50. So it's 10 hours and 50 minutes. All right. Now we have a couple more examples. Here we go. Haley has a nap on the weekend. She naps for 2.2 hours. What's that time in hours and minutes? So, first of all, we know it's going to be a number, and then the colon, and then another number. The first number is easy. What is it? 2. That's right. The tricky part is what goes right here. That's kind of the tricky part. Or what's 0.2 of an hour? What's 0.2 of an hour? How many minutes are in an hour? 60. So if we take 0.2, multiply it by 60, how many minutes do we get? 12. So that's what goes right here. So it's 2 hours and 12 minutes. Now, part B is asking for something we already have. So we're just going to forget about this and just say minutes. What would this time be in minutes? So if she slept for 2 hours and 12 minutes, what would that be in just minutes? What do you think?
132.
Fantastic. It's 132. You take the 2 hours, you multiply by 60, and you get what? 120. And you add the 12 additional minutes, and you get 132 minutes. That's how long her nap is. In minutes. 132 minutes. Darcy goes for a walk at 2:45 p.m. From past experience, he knows that the walk takes him 90 minutes. What time does he return from the walk? Interesting. We're given his start time. We're given how long the walk takes him in minutes. Now we need to figure out what time will he get back. Anyone have any ideas?
4:15.
Beautiful. So, how'd you do it? How do we get 4:15?
4:15 is right answer.
Yeah.
I just put 90 minutes to hours and minutes, which 90 minutes equals an hour 30 minutes.
So stop right there. You're good so far. I just want to write that down. Okay. So we could take 90 minutes and we could turn it into 1 hour and 30 minutes. Yep, I'm with you. Keep going.
Then I added up, I got 3 hours and 75 minutes, and I took 60 out of 75, which got me 15, and I added the 60, and put it into an hour, and I added 1 plus 3, which gave me 4:15.
Beautiful. So we start at 2:45 and Jordy added 1:30 to that. When you do that, you get 3 hours and 75 minutes. Now we know that 3 hours and 75 minutes just sounds goofy. Why does it sound goofy? Because there's 60 minutes in an hour. So what we need to do is we need to take this 75 minutes and we need to take a full hour out of it. How many minutes are in an hour? Well, there's 60 minutes in an hour. So you're going to take 60 away from the 75 and you're going to add 1 to the 3. And that gives you 4 hours, 4:15 p.m. And that's your answer. I'm assuming this is PM. I'm assuming that Darcy's going for a walk in the afternoon and not the middle of the night. Although maybe it's the middle of the night. I don't know. So anyway, the answer is 4:15. That's how we get it. Now the interesting thing is about this is there's more than one way to get to the right answer. So if you're able to find your way to 4:15, but maybe you do it a little differently, that's totally okay. It's not that you have to do it this way or that way. You just have to show your work and eventually get to the right answer.